ready for our today's class? Okay, fine. Now, look at this picture. What is coming in your mind when you look at this picture? What can you see in this picture? You can see a beautiful sky, a beautiful landscape, isn't it? Beautiful flowers, butterflies. Can you see? Now, by looking at this picture, what is coming in your mind? Do you love to visit this place? Yes or no? And once you look at this picture, some of you may think, I should go to this place. I should visit this place. Some of you may think about something else, isn't it? Just observe this picture keenly. Okay? Have you watched this picture clearly? Okay. Now look at this picture. What can you see in this picture? In this picture, you can see a grove, isn't it? Grove? It means a group of trees, a group of particular tree. It is also another beautiful place. Do you love this place? I love this place very much. It looks greenish. It looks very pleasant, isn't it? I love to visit this place. Do you all love to visit this place? Okay. Now, is there anything comes in your mind? Yes or no? Okay. Look at this picture. Do you love this climate? We have never experienced such a foggy climate, isn't it? But in England, in London, we could see such a climate. The misty fog, it looks very pretty. Now, how many of you wish to visit this place? Just raise your hands. I wish to visit this place. Do you? Okay. Now, by looking at this picture, what is coming in your mind? Do you love this scene? Do you love this picture? By looking at this picture, what is coming in your mind? are you all ready for our today's class? Very good. Students, poetry is something which comes automatically in your mind. It's a pleasant experience. Writing poetry is a pleasant experience. I love to write poetry. I have told you already, isn't it? I love to write poetry. So poetry is a form of writing. It gives a new life to uncommon things and common things. We can give life to just a bug, a seagull. We can give life to a table, to a ball, to a fruit, to a tree, isn't it? So poetry helps us to give a new life for things which are common. And also, poetry is a spontaneous overflow of our emotion. For example, if we look at this picture, we all love this climate, isn't it? We all love this climate. Some of you may wish to visit this place. In some of your mind, some stories or a play or a drama, something will cross your mind. Some of you or few of you may think about this place and you will start scribbling something in a paper, and that scribbled words are called as poetry. So what is a poetry? If I ask you to write something, nothing will come in your mind by compulsion. By compulsion you cannot write a poetry. Poetry should come automatically. It's a spontaneous overflow. When you look at a picture, at once something will strike in your mind. Something will refresh your mind. It gives a refreshment, some new thoughts, ideas, lively ideas will emerge from your mind, and those ideas are called as poetry. Now can you understand what is poetry? Do you all love to write poetry? Okay. So in this class I am going to discuss with you about poetry and how to write poetry. Alright. So poetry, as I have told you already, poetry is a spontaneous overflow of emotion. If you look at a pleasant atmosphere, something will come in your mind, and that is showing a happy mood of you, isn't it? So it's a happy emotion. Sometimes when you look at a sad thing, your emotion will also become sad, and what you write on that sad emotion or that sad scene, then the poetry will also become, it is reflecting the sad emotion, isn't it? So on the whole, poetry is a spontaneous poetry well. Now, the first is line break. Writing in shorter lines to show the reader down. Poetry is something different from essays, isn't it? If you write poetry just like an essay or a paragraph, who will read your poetry? Nobody will read. They will throw it away, isn't it? So, if you write a poetry, it should be very, very short. Your lines should be very short. The words you are using at the beginning stage, it should be very simple. If I am using a simple word in my poetry, the readers can understand. If I am saying zest and zeal, can anyone understand? People can understand, but not everyone, isn't it? So, our poetry should be understandable for all, even the common people. Zest and zeal, it shows happiness. It shows joyful, isn't it? But the people who do not know the meaning of zest and zeal, if I write a poetry, if I use those words in my poetry, who will understand? They cannot understand what is there in my poem, isn't it? So, our poetry should be easy for common people to read. So, we should use short lines. Simple words should be used while writing poetry. Next, rhythm. It is not a compulsory to have a rhythm in our poem, but still we can. Okay. So, rhythm. Rhythm indicates a rhyme. It should be like a song. For example, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. We can sing this rhyme, isn't it? So similarly, the rhymes, poems should have a rhythm, should have a beat. So rhythm indicates it makes you to tap your feet. Ba ba black sheep, have you any wool? Yes sir, 3 bags full. One for my master. So here we can see it's like a song, isn't it? It has a rhythm of its own. So our poetry should also have a rhythm, but it is not compulsory. Next, metaphor. Metaphor is a poetic device we can use in our poems. Metaphor says that one thing is something else. For example, heart is compared with a dungeon. Friendship is compared with pomegranate. So similarly, people use metaphors. Poets use metaphors in their writings for comparing two things. That is metaphor, comparing something with something else. Simile, comparing using like or as. In simile is also a poetic device, as we all know. In simile, words like, as are visible. We can see the words like as and like in the poetry. But in metaphor, we cannot see such words. In simile, the words, the things are compared directly, but in metaphors, it is compared indirectly. Okay. Next, imagery. What is imagery? If I read a poem, the poem should create an imagery in my mind. I should see something in my eyes while reading the poetry. For example, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star is a rhyme. We all love that rhyme, isn't it? While saying or while telling the rhyme, you can imagine a dark sky which is filled with bright stars and moon, isn't it? So, while reading a poem, it should create an imagery in our mind. We could see something in our eyes while reading a poetry. non-living things. We can give a new life. We can say that this cat is speaking, horse is speaking, dog is speaking. So here we can give a life for non-living things, for common things. Okay, that is what called personification. Next, alliteration. What is alliteration? Using the same sound at the beginning of neighboring words. Sound smile, sound speaker, slow stream. Here we are the beginning letter, the first initial letter of these two words are the same. So alliteration, it refers to the same spelling for neighboring words. Snowy stream. Here is. We could see the sound is. The spelling also the same is. That is what called alliteration. Next, repetition. For rhymes, for kids, nursery rhymes, they are mainly focusing on repetition. Repetition of the same. Repetition of the same sound. Repetition of the same word. So, for giving more importance for something, we can use repetition. That is what called hyperbole. We have learned in our poems, isn't it? What is hyperbole? Okay. So, we can also use repetition. If in an essay or in a paragraph, if we are writing the same line repeatedly in the first paragraph, in the second paragraph, in the third paragraph, what will your teacher do? Your teacher will throw your note away, throw your answer papers away, isn't it? But in poetry, we can repeat the same lines. We can repeat the same line in the first stanza, second stanza, third stanza. So in poetry, we can use repetition. If you want to give more importance for something, you can repeat the same line. Okay, that is what called repetition. So these are some of the basic tools while we should note while writing poetry. Till this, can you understand, students? So poetry is a spontaneous overflow of our emotion. We can give a new life for uncommon things. We can give new life for anything. It's a skill in writing. Then, what are the basic tools we have to note down? The lines we are writing in poetry should be short and simple. We should use simple words so that all the readers can understand what is there in your poem. Next, the poem also has a rhythm. It is not a compulsion. We can use metaphor, we can use simile, we can use personification, person. We are giving a life for non-living things. We can give human traits. Can the lion speak? But using personification, we can make a lion to speak. That is what called personification. Next, we can use imagery. I will recommend that every poetry should have an imagery, which means whenever you read a poem, something should come in your mind. You can see the visual image of that particular scene or that particular poetry. Okay, that is what called imagery. Next, we can repeat the same lines in poetry. Alliteration is the same sound, same spelling for the neighboring words. These are the basic tools we should note down while writing a poem. Can you understand, students? Okay. In imagery, we have two things. The first is sound image and the second is visual image. Sound image. If dropping droplets, chimps, chuckling, juggles, jiggles. These are creating some sound. So these, when reading a poem, you can hear some sound image within your mind. That is called as sounding. Visual image, as we all know, while reading a poem, some visual imagery should cross in your mind. You could see something in your mind. You could see. Visually, you could see, you could imagine. That is what called visual imagery. Okay. While looking at this waterfalls, if a poet is writing something about a waterfall, but you are inside your home, four walls are around you, you are inside a classroom, but the poetry should take you to this place. If the poetry is about a waterfalls, that poetry should take you to this waterfall, this place. It should take you there in your imagination. That is what called visual image. So if we are reading a poem which is about the evening, twilight time, look at this picture. If a poem is about a twilight time, what is meant by twilight? The time between the night and the evening time, isn't it? That is what called twilight. So if we read a poem which is about a twilight time, a wolf in a hut or something like that, there is a poem. So while reading that poem, you should have an image in your eyes about a twilight time in a green field nearby a hut. So this is what called visual image. If you read a poem, you should have a visual image in your mind. Though you are inside the classroom, the visual image should take you to this place. If you are reading a poetry on twilight time, it should take you to this hut. It should take you to this place. That is what called visual image. So visual image and sound image are the reproducing or the reflection. Reproduce visual effects or sound effects through words. Through words, we have to create a visual effect, a sound effect. That is what called as sound image or visual image. Can you understand? Okay. Now, shall we all sing this rhyme? Are you all ready? Okay. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. This is a rhyme, isn't it? So, when we read or when we sing this song, when we sing this rhyme, is the image of a night comes in your mind? Can you see a star, so many number of stars and a beautiful moon? Can you imagine? Yes, so that is what called visual image. While singing the rhyme, we could imagine the visual image is coming in your mind. That is what called visual image. Can you understand? Then what will be the sound image? Let's see. Now read this with me. Dropping droplets, clinging chimps. Dropping droplets, clinging chimps. Here, while reading these lines, some sound droplets. While raining, can you see the picture here? It's raining. Along with that droplets, along with the sound of droplets. Have you heard about the rain droplets? What is the sound? It's like clink, isn't it? So it looks very pretty. We could hear a pleasant sound, isn't it? So here we could feel the same pleasant sounds while raining. That is this droplets and also the sound of the wind chimes. So while reading this line, dropping droplets, clinging chimes, while reading this line, we should have a feeling of hearing the sound of the wind chimes as well as the rain droplets. Those sounds are very beautiful, isn't it? So while reading these lines, you have to imagine, you have to able to see, you are able to hear the sound. That is called as sound image. Can you understand, students? Okay. Now let's see few forms of poetry. There are a number of forms of poetry are there, but now we are going to see some basic forms of poetry. First is free verse, next limerick, haiku, cinquain, sensory, acrostic. Free verse, limerick, haiku, cinquain, sensory and acrostic. These are the few forms of poetry. Okay. Now let's see free verse. Free verse, the word itself shows it's free, which means there is no rules and regulations. We can write whatever we like, whatever we wish. Okay, that is what called free verse. Free, we are free, completely free to write anything in our poetry. There is no rules and regulations there to write a free verse. Next, sonnet. But in sonnet, we have some rules to be followed. Sonnet should have 14 lines. It's a 14-line poem with a fixed rhyme scheme. For sonnets, we should use a fixed rhyme scheme and the lines should be 14. That is what called sonnet. Now come to limerick. Have you heard about this word limerick? It's a form of poetry. Just 5 lines will be there in this limerick poems. It's a 5-line poem. First, second and fifth line has 7 to 10 syllables. You all know what is a syllable, isn't it? So in limerick poem, already the limerick poem has 5 lines. In that 5 lines, first, second and fifth line has 7 to 10 syllables. Fourth and third line can have 5 to 7 syllables. If you are writing, if you are following these pattern while writing a poem, then it is called as limerick. Okay? So limerick poem contains 5 lines. Keep that in mind. Next, cinquain. The same. It is also a 5-line poem. The first line should be one word, second line 2 words, third line 3 words, fourth line 4 words and fifth line 5 words. It will look like a pyramid, isn't it? So that is what called cinquain. 5-line poem. First line 1 word, second line 2 words, third line 3 words and so on. This is cinquain. Now, sensory. Sensory poems, it's basically like nursery rhymes. It describes about the sense organs. What are the sense organs? Very good. So, sensory poems talk more about it describes the sense organs. It describes the use. What is the use of our description there in the sensory points. Here we have an example. The title of the sensory point is popcorn. I hear the pop, pop, pop. I smell something buttery. I see something white. I feel something soft. I taste something salty. What could it be? It's popcorn. Here, this poem is about a popcorn. Here comes all the sense organs, isn't it? So, this is an example for sensory point. Students, I hope you all have understood our today's class. Let's continue the same topic in our next class and see you all in the next class, students. Until